the heart of the vibrant city of Malabo, there stood a prestigious school, Bright Future Academy. To parents, it was a symbol of hope, a place where dreams were nurtured. But behind its gleaming gates, a dark secret festered, one that would change lives forever. Ada was a bright and curious 12-year-old girl, always eager to learn and spend time with her two best friends, Tunde and Kojo. But lately, something about them had changed. They were distant, their laughter subdued, their conversations guarded. Ada couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. One day at lunchtime, Ada decided to confront them. "What's going on with you two? You've been acting so strange," she asked, her voice filled with concern. Tunde glanced around nervously before whispering, "You don't understand, Ada. It's nothing. Just stay out of it." But Ada couldn't just let it go. As she walked home that evening, her thoughts were consumed with worry. She passed by an old, abandoned warehouse and noticed faint murmurs and shadows inside. Her curiosity was piqued. Over the next few days, the signs became harder to ignore. Whispers in the hallways, strange symbols scribbled in her friends' notebooks, and the unsettling rumors of a secret group called the Circle. It was said that the Circle promised power and protection, but at a cost. One evening, Ada decided to follow her instincts. She followed Kojo after school and saw him slip into a hidden alleyway where he met a group of older students. They exchanged hushed words before disappearing into the warehouse. Ada's stomach churned, but she knew she had to find out more. Later that night, Ada overheard Tunde and Kojo whispering about an initiation planned for the evening. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, she made a decision that would change everything. She pretended to go to bed but waited until her house was silent. Then she slipped out into the dark, her heart pounding. The streets were eerily quiet as she made her way to the warehouse. She stayed in the shadows, careful not to be seen. When she reached the building, she found a small opening in the wall and crawled inside. The atmosphere within was chilling. The room was dimly lit, with candles casting flickering shadows on the walls. Hooded figures stood in a circle, chanting in low, rhythmic tones. At the center, new initiates, including Tunde and Kojo, sat nervously. The air was thick with tension and fear. Ada hid behind a stack of crates, her breath shallow. She watched as the hooded leader began the ritual. Each child was called forward to take an oath, cutting their palms to seal their bond. Blood dripped into a bowl and the leader whispered promises of wealth, protection, and power. Ada's stomach turned as she saw her friends trembling but complying. Suddenly, the leader's voice boomed. "Betrayal will not be tolerated. Once you join the circle, there is no escape." The words sent a chill down Ada's spine. Just then, one boy stood up and shouted, "I don't want to do this. I'm leaving." The room fell silent. The leader's gaze was cold and menacing. "No one leaves," he said. The boy bolted for the door, knocking over a candle in his panic. The flame caught on a pile of dried leaves and paper, spreading quickly. Within moments, the room was filled with smoke and fire. Chaos erupted as children screamed and scrambled to escape. The hooded figures disappeared into the shadows, leaving the panicked initiates to fend for themselves. Ada felt frozen, but the sight of Kojo struggling to lift a falling beam snapped her into action. She ran to help him, tears streaming down her face. Together, they managed to free him, but the fire was relentless. As they neared the exit, she saw Tunde trapped beneath a collapsing structure. "Tunde!" she screamed, but the flames were too intense. Kojo pulled her away as the warehouse began to collapse. Outside, the survivors coughed and cried, their faces smudged with soot and tears. The fire department arrived too late to save the building or everyone inside. The next morning, the city was in shock. News of the tragedy spread quickly. Grieving parents gathered outside the school demanding answers. The circle was exposed, but at a devastating cost. For Ada, the loss of Tunde was a wound that would never fully heal. Weeks later, as the community began to heal, changes were made at Bright Future Academy. Investigations revealed that some teachers had turned a blind eye to the activities of the circle. Those complicit were penalized, while others were dismissed for negligence. Stricter measures were put in place to monitor students' activities, and counseling sessions were introduced to help them process the trauma. Some students identified as active participants in the circle were expelled, while others were transferred to different schools to start afresh under close supervision. The community rallied together to ensure such a tragedy would never happen again. The funerals for the children who lost their lives, including Tunde, were somber and heartbreaking. Hundreds from the community attended, their faces etched with grief and resolve. It was a stark reminder of the consequences of silence and neglect. Ada sat with her mother after the funeral, tears streaming down her face. She finally shared everything she had seen and learned. Her mother listened in horror but held her close. The tragedy at Bright Future Academy served as a wake-up call. Parents vowed to be more vigilant, to pay closer attention to their children's lives, and to foster open communication at home. A child's safety is built on trust and guidance. Let's protect our future.